Tonight, a woman is fighting for her life after being lit on fire.
It was reported that a man was attacking a woman on board a TTC bus.
The woman rushed to hospital with second and third degree burns, police calling it a random attack. Plus,
we do not have anyone in custody.
It's very sad.
Peel police are searching for a 29-year-old man wanted for murder after a woman is found dead inside a Brampton home. And
they're barely making ends meet.
Many drivers are feeling the pain at the pumps lately, but the soaring price of gas is hitting some harder than others. Good evening. I'm Kelda Yoon. A woman in her 20s is in critical condition tonight after being lit on fire on a TTC bus. Police have a suspect in custody. The horrifying incident is the latest in a recent string of violent attacks on the city's transit system. And as Dale Manukduk reports, it has some riders on edge.
Toronto police say they were called to Kipling Station at around noon.
It was reported that a man was attacking a woman on board a TTC bus. The man was then alleged to have poured some type of liquid substance or an accelerant on this woman and then ignited that substance, causing a fire and causing the female victim to burn.
Constable Alex Lee says a number of Good Samaritans provided aid to the woman before first responders arrived. The woman suffered second and third degree burns described as life-altering injuries. A 35-year-old man is in custody and charges are pending.
I want to reassure the community right now that this is an isolated incident. Preliminary investigations have led our investigators to believe that this is a random attack.
The news has left TTC riders and nearby residents on edge.
It's a little daunting, to be honest, especially being a woman. If this is the case, if someone is being burnt, especially on the subway, does not make me feel safe at all.
My girlfriend lives in the area and it's pretty scary. She's scared to take the TTC now.
I understand their concerns. And I do like to remind people that we move hundreds of millions of people every year without incident.
The incident is just the latest in a string of violent attacks on TTC property. On April 7th, a 21-year-old international student from India was shot and killed outside Sherbourne Station. 10 days later, at Bloor Yonge Station, a woman was pushed onto the tracks but survived. In both cases, TTC surveillance was pivotal in leading police to an arrest.
I spoke with Chief Raymer today, and we agreed to continue the relationship of working together for this investigation and with the deployment of staff and how we continue to have the TTC remain safe.
The TTC has made it a priority to add more visible special constables and security cameras in their stations. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
And we're hearing tonight from the family of the Indian international student killed outside a TTC station in April. The parents made the journey to Toronto to recover their son's belongings. Lorena Redekop spoke with them.
The family of Kartik Vasudev felt they had to come here.
There were so many questions which were haunting us, and we need answers for that. So there was a sleepless night for us from last 2 months or so.
Vasudev was shot and killed outside this subway station in April. Police say there's no evidence he knew the man charged with killing him. Richard Edwin is facing a first-degree murder charge. He's also charged in the killing of another man 2 days later. Police say they found a cache of weapons when they arrested him. Vasudev was 21, only in Canada a few months, studying at Seneca College. Their family obviously close. Here, they're visiting the sites he told them about or sent pictures of.
We want to look Canada with the eyes of Kartik, but
he's not there, so we are just feeling like that he should be here only.
We want to see with his eyes. Mama, this place is good, this restaurant is good, have to try this, I want to show this. So missing Kartik everywhere.
They visited the apartment where he lived and will take his clothes back with them. The one place the family didn't visit, the scene of the crime.
We don't have courage to see that place where my son was murdered. Did not kill Kartik, he killed everyone, my family.
His 16-year-old brother managed to say this.
He's my one and only friend. I don't have much friends.
He was everything for him.
As for whether this trip, reliving their son's favorite places here, will bring a sense of peace,
Peace definitely will get when will get the justice for Karthik. Then I'll feel peace. Because my child was totally innocent.
They're also trying to experience what he would have wanted.
He also wanted that my parents should every time should be happy. So we are just thinking of that. We should feel that thing, that wherever he is, he's just taking care of that.
Lorenda Radikop, CBC News, Toronto.
Peel police are searching for a man after a woman was found dead in a Brampton home this morning. They believe the woman was the victim of intimate partner violence. Ali Chiasson has the details.
Peel police are searching for 29-year-old Linval Ritchie. His girlfriend was found dead this morning at her home on Aloma Crescent near the 410 and Steeles. Police were called just before 6 a.m. for a disturbance inside the house.
Officers arrived on scene and located a deceased adult woman with obvious signs of trauma within a residence. We do not have anyone in custody. However, we do believe that it is an isolated incident.
Police cordoned off a large stretch of road and ravine behind the home, searching for any sign of the direction her alleged killer might have fled.
So I never met them personally, but it's very sad.
This is very terrifying, ma'am. This is a very quiet area.
This is a really quiet street. A lot of the homes here have several apartments in them, and neighbors tend to keep to themselves. We haven't met anybody yet who knew the victim or her boyfriend, but the police sure know a lot about him.
Linval Ritchie is associated with 2 different vehicles, and police want you to keep an eye out for them. A red 2008 Mitsubishi Lancer, license plate CMLT713. And a gray 2006 Audi A4, license plate CLJJ458. He's also connected to the city of Welland and Orangeville.
So we send our deepest condolences to her family and friends.
Domestic violence support group MBrave is encouraging people to look out for the signs of intimate partner violence and learn about the ways to help.
When survivors of violence are leaving violence, that's often the most time that they're at risk. Professionals or co-workers or neighbors or as family members is that we can learn to recognize warning signs and how to respond safely and supportively.
Police urge Linval Ritchie to seek legal counsel and turn himself in. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Brampton.
The federal government tabled a bill today about extreme intoxication. It's in response to a Supreme Court ruling last month. The court ruled that it violates principles of fundamental justice to convict someone for how they behave when extremely intoxicated. The Justice Minister explained the proposed law, Bill C-28.
It amends the criminal code so that an individual would be held responsible for the violence they commit while in a state of extreme intoxication if they ended up in that state through their own criminal negligence. Being drunk or high is not a defense for committing criminal acts like sexual assault. That was the law before the Supreme Court decisions, and that remains the law today. And all Canadians need to understand that clearly.
The court says the defense of extreme intoxication is available only in the rarest of circumstances. People can expect some road closures and transit disruptions this weekend as more events and festivals return to the city. Runners will be lacing up for the Waterfront 10K race on Saturday, with Lakeshore closed all morning from Bathurst to Windermere. Taste of Italy is back. It starts today and runs all weekend. A little further north, the Yorkville Exotic Car Show is on all day Sunday. Now, you can expect closures along College and Bloor Streets for those 2 events. And Active TO continues this weekend along stretches of Bayview and River Streets. You can also expect continued construction and TTC closures over the next 2 days. And Dahlia Ashby joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Dahlia, another gorgeous day, a great way to end the work week.
Well, Kelda, it was a beautiful Friday, and it looks like the weekend's going to be shaping out to be just the same, if not better. So less heat, less humidity tonight and Saturday. Feeling sunny and fresh. We'll get into that in a second. And a dandy day for dads. Beautiful weather on Sunday. Current daytime highs were 27 degrees. Lovely feeling out in Toronto today. 28 degrees in Windsor. So a little bit warmer out there. Kingston, 25 degrees, and Ottawa, 26. Now let's take a look. Overnight tonight, temperatures will drop to a low 13. We'll have those winds gusting up to 50 kilometers an hour, and by tomorrow afternoon, we'll have a high of 20 degrees. And those winds are because of the rain storm that was in Ottawa and Quebec, and we're getting those lovely breeze in our city Friday, Saturday, and I'll have more on how the weekend is shaping up.
Thanks so much, Dahlia. As the weather gets warmer, some families of long-term care residents are worried their loved ones will be living in sweltering conditions once again. 2 years ago, the province promised to mandate air conditioning in every nursing home in Ontario. But as Lisa Shing reports, many homes won't have units in place by the June 22nd deadline.
It will make them sick. They will dehydrate.
Marianne Flynn's aunt lives at this Crescent Care long-term care home in Lindsay, where the management says a supply chain issue is delaying the installation of air conditioners for all residents' rooms.
I think the past has gone on far too long, and that there needs to be some sort of ownership from management and from corporate offices.
Flynn says a robocall went out to families in early June. The message, no AC this year, but residents have access to cooling centers, or they can buy their own units at their own cost.
I can't let a company that makes millions of dollars make the people in that building uncomfortable or deserve to be treated with respect and dignity.
After CBC News asked, though, Crescent Care said it's providing floor units to all residents who requested at no cost. And Flynn's aunt's home should have permanent units installed by mid-August. But this long-term care researcher and advocate says the province and homes need to take more responsibility.
Long-term care has frankly never really been at the forefront of this government's agenda. We haven't dealt with the negligence that remains.
2 years ago, Premier Doug Ford announced he would mandate all homes to have AC in resident rooms after CBC News pressed him.
We're going to move forward with this. We're going to move forward rapidly.
The Ministry of Long-Term Care says 77% of nursing homes in Ontario are fully air-conditioned, which means more than 100 still aren't. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
Kids in the U.S. under 5 years of age could be receiving COVID-19 vaccines as early as next week. Today, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration authorized pediatric shots from both Moderna and Pfizer-BioNTech. Canadian regulators are still reviewing an application from Moderna to give shots to children between 6 months and 5 years old. That decision is expected in the coming weeks. If you're a commuter, you know just how expensive it's been lately to fill up your tank. Prices still hovering around $2 a liter, even with a slight drop today. And as Farah Morale reports, the sky-high prices are hitting some harder than others.
We've all felt the pain at the pumps lately. Believe it or not, this time last year, gas was hovering around $1.33 a liter. For people who drive for a living, that sharp increase is being felt acutely.
How much does it cost you to fill up these days?
120 for full tank.
How much did it used to cost you?
Before it used to $60. It's double.
It's costing us almost by 100% more.
After the pandemic, drivers say business is finally picking up. The problem is they're now paying a premium for gas.
The business is back. The games are in, the tourists. And also now is the PAYDEC conference in. We have businesses, but we have to pay it back to the gas pumps.
Beck Taxi says pre-COVID, it had about 1,800 cars on the road. That's now closer to 1,100.
It's just been made increasingly difficult for them to continue.
Its operations manager says the decline is related to the pandemic, the difficulty in getting insurance for taxi drivers, as well as the cost. But she says the price of gas isn't helping to bring drivers back.
And what we're seeing is that availability of drivers and vehicles for people who are trying to access the service, drivers just aren't coming out the same way they used to, and you can't blame them.
And it's not just taxi drivers.
It is difficult working under these circumstances when knowing that sometimes it's going to take me a day to 3 days just to cover gas money. It's getting kind of scary.
Rideshare or food delivery app drivers say it's getting increasingly hard to make a living wage with gas prices spiking. Uber introduced a 50-cent surcharge per trip that goes to rideshare drivers and 35 cents to food deliveries.
They're barely making ends meet.
The group that represents gig workers says that does little to help.
That doesn't cover very much at all. When you include the rising costs of everything else like food, rent, insurance, maintaining your car, many drivers are questioning whether to continue working in this profession.
Today, a small reprieve at the pumps. But just how many drivers will stick around might dictate how easy it is to get a ride around the city this summer. Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. Soccer fans in the city are still buzzing after Toronto was named one of the host cities for the 2026 World Cup. Now, it's the first time the tournament will be played in Canada. And as Greg Ross reports, it could have a lasting impact on the sport in this country.
Kids with North Toronto Soccer were still feeling the excitement a day after learning the premier event in their sport is coming here.
It's a great feeling. Obviously, soccer is getting more popular in Canada.
It shows that we can be a country that has a main sport of soccer.
It's good inspiration.
Soccer is already the highest participation sport in Canada. Hosting World Cup games could take it to a whole new level.
I think that having the World Cup with all the publicity and all the excitement will encourage kids to participate themselves.
Doug Blair is the executive director of North Toronto Soccer. He says they've already seen an impact.
From obscurity to unforgettable, this is the moment the country has waited for.
He says many kids turned to the sport after the men's national team qualified for this year's World Cup and after the women's national team won gold at the Olympics last year.
More and more of the players are known to the fans, so that when you watch a game and watch another game through all the qualifiers and so on, you can really relate to the players.
With young kids in a city like Toronto where there's so many different options, you certainly do feed off of the success of professional and national teams. We saw it with the Blue Jays, we saw it with the Raptors.
It's not just kids wanting to play the game who will be impacted by the World Cup coming to Toronto. The buzz surrounding the event is likely to attract an entirely new fan base.
I think we're going to see such a rise in popularity in the sport, right? Like we saw with basketball and the Raptors when they won everything and how much it did for the sport here. And I think it's going to be the same for soccer as well.
Just the prospect of the World Cup had some soccer fans in Little Italy buzzing today.
Everything will be picking up. It'll be such a lively city.
Toronto's diversity could make it interesting as well.
I'm from Brazil. I'm a Brazilian Canadian.
This woman has always cheered for Brazil in the World Cup. She suddenly has another team to root for. Canada's playing Brazil in the World Cup. Who are you cheering for?
I don't know. Let's see. I don't know yet.
A total of 10 games will be played in Canada in 2026. They will be split between Toronto and Vancouver. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
A graduation ceremony was held today at the Toronto Fire Academy for their largest class ever. You're looking at the 92 newest members of the Toronto Fire Service. They just completed their 20-week program. Toronto Fire Chief Matthew Pegg and other city officials, including Mayor John Tory, welcomed the group. Chief Pegg says the training will also help them with public education in fire prevention.
Their principal role, of course, will be firefighters on trucks responding to emergencies day and night in what is Canada's largest city. More than 300,000 times a year, our crews are responding to emergencies as they happen. But these folks will also have the ability to be engaged professionally in public education and in fire code inspection, which is allowing us to maximize our service delivery model across the city.
Pegg said the class was so large because of demand. There's been a period of high attrition lately. Graduates will be deployed immediately to crews and fire stations across the city. 8 communications recruits also graduated from their 9-week program. They help process incoming emergency calls and dispatch fire trucks. Recruitment for the next class is already underway. And you're looking at a live shot of the Toronto skyline, mostly clear tonight with cloud cover moving in overnight. Currently a comfortable 18 degrees in the city. Let's go back to Dahlia now with a more detailed look at your forecast. And Dahlia, today a bit windy but nice, and it's shaping up to be a beautiful Father's Day weekend.
Kelda, Friday was a beautiful day. I mean, lots of sunshine. We had a nice breeze, although Environment Canada did put out a weather statement just warning people about those heavy winds and just being cautious. But things flying around, but that will end by tonight. And there was no humidity like Thursday, it was nice and beautiful and breezy. Saturday, we'll have that breeze continue throughout and it will nice cool temperature. And Sunday, weather's going to be looking great for dads out there. The daytime highs is 27 degrees for Friday. Kitchener, 25 a little bit on the lower side. Same thing in London. Windsor a little bit on the warmer side, 28 degrees. And as we take a look at tonight, it will dip down to 13 degrees. Like I said, those winds will be gusting up to 50 kilometers an hour, but it will end eventually as we head into tomorrow afternoon, 20 degrees, and clouds will be clearing out. So we'll get that beautiful sunshine and winds will be gusting north 30 kilometers an hour. Now, we are expecting some precipitation as we start off the work week, but first let's look at Saturday. Clear skies as we head into Monday. Like I said, you start to see that precipitation, that activity starting to peek through, making its way into Toronto. And there we have it by Tuesday at around 6 o'clock. It'll start making its way through, and by 11 o'clock overnight, we'll see that rain continue. And as for the winds that we were talking about, you see those winds 51 kilometers an hour is peaking through, and that will continue all the way until Saturday afternoon. And overnight tonight, temperatures will dip to 12 degrees, and Hamilton 11 degrees, St. Catharines 13 degrees. Saturday and Sunday, beautiful sunshine for Father's Day. Take out dad for a barbecue or for a walk or golf if he likes that. Monday and Tuesday, we have those wet conditions, 20 degrees, but really warm on Tuesday, 29 degrees. Wednesday, 29 degrees, beautiful sunshine. So we have a little bit of those wet conditions and then back to those dry ones. Kelda?
Thanks so much, Dahlia.